Some of the common questions that we get are, where do specific items go? And when you see a balance sheet form and it's so long and it's divided into sections, customers are concerned about, what do I put in this section? And if I put it in another section, is that wrong? Am I filling it out completely? When you're filling a balance sheet out, you want to list all of your assets over here on the right side and then all of your liabilities over here on the left side. Don't get too caught up in the boxes. I'll go over some of the boxes with you, but the most important thing is list all of the assets over here and all of the debts or liabilities over here. We typically just start at the top and work your way down, and that's what I suggest that you do too. Checking and savings, this would be money markets, farm accounts, checking or savings accounts. If you have multiple accounts, you can always add a sheet of paper and list those accounts out and then put the total over here. Then we have accounts receivable. That would be, I have a customer, maybe they just stopped by after selling a load of cattle and they haven't actually received the check for the cattle, but the cattle are gone. That could be an accounts receivable. Marketable securities. A marketable security would be an account that is easily liquidated. This would be a CD possibly that you could access in the next 1 to 3 months. If it was a CD that had some sort of 5-year time frame on it, we would want to move it down here. Anything that goes in this top box should be easily liquidated. Livestock and commodities for sale and feed. This would be where you would put your calves, your hay, your grain that's in the bin somewhere, your interest in growing crops. It seems a little odd sometimes to split a cow-calf pair up, but we do that because you intend to keep the cow, so that should go down here as an intermediate asset. Where you intend to sell the calf, you would put it up here as an easily liquidated item as a current asset. So a lot of times if you have calves of different weights, we try to group them together the best we can and then add them, maybe you have 300 pounds here, 800 pounds here, and list how many units they are and then what they would bring per head. And what you have to keep in mind is that whether it's hay or feed or cattle, you are putting the price if you sold them today, not their future value, their value today. And so this group of calves, there was 10 of them, and the farmer thinks they're worth about $500 a piece. And so then that would total out over here to be $5,000 total. So as you go down, we have investments in growing crops. And this is something I would encourage you to add a schedule with and list out, I have 50 acres of beans in the ground. In those beans, you have most likely seed cost and fertilizer cost, and you could describe, I have, X dollars per acre in these beans, and then you might just make a note here, 50 acres of beans, and then however much money you have in them at that time. Because we understand that, that's an investment in a crop, and even though you haven't received the money back yet, you may owe money on those crops, and we want to, see that as an asset. The supplies on hand, that would be items such as propane, or if you had pre-bought fertilizer, if you are if you have a large supply of feed on hand, all of that would go here. Again, just keep in mind, everything up here is easily liquidated. Typically assets that could be sold in the next 2 to 10 years. So this would be, your bred cattle or your equipment, those things that aren't quite completely liquid, but they're also not a long-term asset like real estate. If you had sows or if you had ewes or something like that, your breeding livestock would go up here. A lot of times, we'll have dry cattle, if you're a dairy operator, milking cattle, and, your bred heifers back, your replacements. They would be split out with their values. Here in personal vehicles, we're just looking for, your cars and trucks that you drive daily. This trucks line, this is typically more of your farm type vehicles. I get a lot of questions on this machinery because there's several different boxes here. And this is a progress. You know, if we have a starting machinery balance, if you bought a piece of equipment and you had value added, or you sold a piece of equipment and had value disposed or equipment depreciated, that's what these boxes are for. For the most part, don't get caught up in that. Just worry about your list of machinery and how much you think if you sold it today it was worth. As you grow and get more complex, you know, then we might start using these other boxes. Don't forget in your intermediate assets to include your toys, your boats, your RVs, your motorcycles. Those types of things are assets too. Securities not readily marketable. That's something that we get a lot of questions about. You know, the readily marketable securities, that's what we talked about up here. Those would be those CDs or maybe a stock that you could easily liquidate. A security that's not readily marketable, this would be your IRAs, your annuities. Maybe it's a CD that has some sort of penalty if you cashed it out early. Your retirement accounts. I suggest that you just put a little description here so that if I have a question about what we're talking about, you and I can be on the same page. Our long-term assets are typically real estate. Your farm, your home, you know, any kind of real estate would go down here. One of the things that your loan officer will want you to fill out is the original cost, the improvements since purchase, and the year acquired. And the reason that we do this is we're trying to figure out, is this number, if it's larger than the original cost, is that due to appreciation? Have you put money into the property? We're just trying to understand where these values and when they change, why are they changing? If you have a question about your stock interest and farm credit, just ask your loan officer and they'd be happy to help you fill that out. And then again, other real estate. This would be if these blanks can't hold what you have, your attached number from a total on a different page, you could just add it here. Once you have all of your information in, you can then just follow the instructions, line 1 plus 2 plus 3, and put that total here. So this would be a total on this number 4, total assets would be a total of all of the assets above. Go to our website and find the office closest to you. You can find that on our homepage by clicking on the Locations tab. Or you can always call 1-800-444-FARM and we'd be so glad to help you.